All right, everyone, we've got a super special guest on today about a super cool game. It's the newest game that I'm getting into. I got into it when it first came out, and then basically I felt it died, and then there's been sort of a resurgence, or at least I found it. It seems like it's resurging. We can talk about that, but it is Alex. Alex, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, not bad. I was just saying I'm a little bit tired. I'm off the back of a 24-player Dropfleet tournament that I was playing in yesterday, so batteries are a bit low, but I'm all right. How are you?
I am doing good. I've been good. Like I said, we've been trying to get this coordinated. We all had stuff going on. Um, let's talk about the game, the tournament. Now you've went to was it Drop Fleet or Drop Zone? It was.
Yeah, this was Dropfleet. So this is the
Oh,
does your
nice.
audience know about Dropfleet and Dropzone? And
I'm good. So I know about it, and I want to sort of introduce them. So I mainly do OPR, but I've been branching out into other games. And when we talk about Drop Zone and Drop, so I've actually never I've played one introductory game of Drop Fleet and I liked it, but I
okay,
played Drop Zone Commander, and we'll get into the history of that. Like when it came out in 2012, I actually met the owner Dave Lewis years ago. And then we've sort of in my local community seems to have a resurgence, and then there's been. It feels like did it never go away, or is it growing? We'll kind of get into all that, but before we get into all
yeah,
of this stuff, as we always start doing, I get an interesting guest on. We start just sort of getting ahead of ourselves, but it is Alex from the Bottom of the Barrel YouTube channel. So definitely go on his channel, subscribe, like, check it out. Does great bat rips. Is it just YouTube, or are you on anything else that you want to sort of plug?
yeah. It's basically just YouTube.
Okay.
I think we've got an Instagram account that one of the other team members. There's like four. Hang on. There's five of us.
Mhm.
One of the other guys on the team, Gareth, kind of handles the social media and Instagram, but it's pretty much just YouTube. And yeah, it's bottom of the barrel battle reports. The name is meant to be ironic. Uh, and basically, we cover battle reports for generally more niche games.
Yeah.
So, you know, we started on like everyone does, start on 40K, that sort of thing. But then we kind of found our niche covering Adeptus Titanicus a few years back.
Hmm.
And then when that isn't niche enough, that's still got too many players. We need to find something even smaller and even less successful on YouTube. And got into doing Drop Zone and Drop Fleet and Carnivale as well.
Yeah.
And that's become what we do now mainly.
Well, that's great. So before we get into the drop zone, you've covered a little bit. Maybe tell us a little bit about your history in wargaming. So how did you find this interesting hobby, this niche hobby into itself?
Yeah. Where did I start? So started as a kid, as a teenager, and like I was always the nerdy kid. I was big into Star Wars, big into Lord of the Rings, etc. And started at like age 11, I think, on the Middle Earth strategy battle game.
Oh wow, very
Yeah,
nice.
so Lord of the Rings. I think it was actually called Lord of the Rings at the time, rather than Middle Earth strategy
Mhm.
battle game. But yeah, they did back in the day. Like one of Games Workshop's best ideas ever was this monthly magazine. I think it was, and it was like £5, £5. So you can cheat. So kids like me could afford it with my pocket money, and it came with like a single sprue or a single metal model. Or 1 month it might be a few paints for the model you got last month. Then there'd be a little scenario you could play with that character.
Mhm.
There'd be a guide as to how to paint it, and then there'd be a guide how to make terrain for the scenario you were doing. And over the course of no, it must have been more than once a month. I think maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe. Either way, you collected it, and over like the course of a year or two, you'd end up with a whole collection of good and evil armies for cheap.
Oh
And
wow.
you know, it was the perfect price. Where again, little 11-year-old Alex could afford it with his pocket money.
Mhm.
I remember that. I think when the High Elves one came out, I think I saved up and bought four of them so I could have lots and lots of High Elves. So yeah, did that all through like my teenage years because it was running alongside the Lord of the Rings movies when it came out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, got really into that with a couple of friends at the time, and then the friends discovered Music and Girls, and stopped playing toy soldiers. So after a while, I did too. And again, I think most people do. They get into it when they're very young, and then real life happens. You
Yeah.
stop playing it for a while. So stopped doing the hobby entirely. And then about, I want to say about 12 years ago, thereabouts,
Mhm.
happened to be walking past a Games Workshop with a few friends. This was like in my uni days. Popped in for old time's sake. Walked out with a Chaos Space Marines Codex and a box of models,
Yeah.
and yeah, went from there. Um, yeah, so then played 40k all the way through 6th edition, 7th edition, bit of 8th edition.
Yeah.
Kind of fell out of love with it in around 8th edition. I think I was not as into it as I used to be, but then started to find other games like Titanicus. Um, and then the rest is history.
Hmm. Now, where where did you hear about Dropzone? Because it's so for me, I'll tell you my history. I somehow
Yeah,
stumbled upon it 2012, right when it was coming out. Right when it was
yeah,
coming out. And I don't know if you remember back in those days, they didn't have these whole Kickstarter thing where like you have this small creator creating a game. That was a relatively new thing that
yeah.
that Dave Lewis, I remember I talked with him and he was doing some interviews where he just basically was a game designer who quit his job and focused, I think it was like a year or two or something like that, and just designed the game, designed the lore,
Yeah.
designed the pictures, did everything. And just like and I think back in those days that was a lot less common to do. Um
Yeah, absolutely.
and the crazy thing is the game itself was super good. Now, Drop Zone, this was before Drop Fleet, but Drop Zone Commander was really nothing like it. It was a very tight rule set, but it was also sort of based on this idea that um, wars are fought in a much more modern fashion where you don't have armies just setting up. It's sort of a war
Just
zone
smashing
happens.
into each other.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's really more of what happens in modern war where you have this thing happens and they have to quickly these two forces have to almost react, right? So they have to very quickly deploy in there. Super tight game. And I bought it, tried to get some friends into it, and that, like you said, you had other games. So that was my experience. But how about you, Alex? How did you find about Drop Zone and Drop Fleet?
yeah. So for me, it was much, much more recent. Like I wasn't even aware of Drop Fleet or Drop Zone back in the day when they launched. I was fully committed to. I only play Warhammer, basically.
Mhm.
I was dimly aware there were other games out there, but yeah, it was Warhammer, Warhammer, Warhammer. But I'm really fortunate in that I live almost next door, half an hour's drive away from a store called Firestorm. And they are enormous. Like they're not just a little gaming store. They've actually got a great big gaming space. Their shop is gigantic. Really dangerous place to go into. Like you should never go in there with spare money. But it was a place that my friends and I used to go for our monthly get together and play whatever the game was at the time, some variation of Warhammer. And I remember it must be like 3 years ago by now. We'd finished up our games, we were just wandering around the shop looking at the other parts, and just happened to be walking down the aisle where they happened to stock all of Dropzone and all of Dropfleet. And sort of idly looking at the backs of blister packs, no real intention to get into it. And this member of staff came up, and clearly he was excited to see someone else looking at Dropzone.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was it was not at all a pushy sales pitch, but it was, do you know what this is? You don't. Cool. Let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you all about it. Let me tell you all about the factions. Let me tell you about all the gameplay, how the gameplay is different to your by the numbers Warhammer. This was in the days where I hadn't even played an alternating activations game. So the idea of you
Oh
activate a squad of
wow.
units and
Yeah.
then I get to counter with my own squads was a new idea to me, pretty much. Um, he walked us through the different factions, how their playstyles are so different. Um, kind of said, if you want to get started, this is what you probably want to start with model wise. it helped that it, at least in the UK, it's incredibly cheap, certainly compared to Warhammer prices of the day. I think a starter box was like £30. You
Mhm.
could have a full army for under £100. Um, and yeah, again, I want to stress this wasn't a pushy sales pitch. This was just a really good, really different idea being advertised by someone who's clearly passionate about it. So yeah, didn't go away and purchase it that day. A couple of my friends did, but I held off for a little bit. But then had a demo game at a friend's house, and we were playing on 40k terrain with proxy models. But something about the rules clicked, and I think it's what you were saying about how it feels more like a more modern or more realistic war. It's not like where you line up your army and I line up my army and we mash them together in the middle and see who wins.
Mhm.
You're fighting over objectives, you're actually trying to get them and extract them. Infantry don't stand in the street and shoot at other people standing in the open. They actually get into buildings and fight room to room. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was there was something unique and evocative about it that just grabbed me. Got some models, started painting, got some more models, got some more models, and then said to the other guys on the channel, "This is a really fun game. This is a really different game, and no one else is covering it. Like,
Yeah.
no one else that we could find was playing Dropzone at all, or at least no one was doing battle reports and the like. So blundered our way for a couple of them, and yeah, it got a good reception. We enjoyed it, so kept going.
Yeah, yeah. It is one of those games that but it seems to have been picking up. Like I around my local gaming group, all of a sudden I found there's several people who play. It seems like it's more like an indie. It's in that sort of that indie band phase where it's all word of mouth, right? It's like, oh, you
Yeah,
play, let's play. And I remember when that, and I can only speak about the early game, but I remember it had one of the best starter boxes that was, I feel, really ahead of its time. Where not only did you get the two factions, great detail on just the
mhm.
miniatures, but also had that terrain, that really nice
Yeah,
cardboard terrain, and the what do you call the mat. I remember that. I mean, for an indie game back in those days, was really kind of unheard of to have that strong, I think, of a starter box. Um, so I wanted to kind of real quick. So when we were talking about, um, I think I found you're sort of the premier channel I follow from my Drop Zone and Drop Fleet commanders, and you do great work. I love it.
thank you.
Um, I wanted to kind of see. So I've played a little bit of Drop Zone One. It sounds like you've mainly played Drop Zone Two, correct?
Yeah, I've only played Dropzone 2. So Dropzone 1 was before my time.
Okay.
I came into it. I think version 2, I think, is 7 years old at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and I came into it about 3 years ago. So I've played it for a while. I've played it quite a lot now, actually, but I've got no memory of version 1. I've only got sort of people like yourself who tell me what it used to be like.
Well, and so we have that, but then there is now. I watched on your channel. You actually interviewed the designer Dave Lewis
Yeah,
about 3.0 because so apparently this game is still being supported. Drop. I think they had Drop Fleet 2.0 came out a year ago. I want to say ish,
pretty much.
and,
Yeah, October last year is when
and
Dropfleet 2 came out.
3.0 is coming out. They're still producing models. Like I've actually been looking in some of the newer stuff. The newer models look incredible. Like it's just
Yeah, they're not just carrying on supporting it; they are giving it the Dropfleet 2 treatment. So if you're not aware, that Dropfleet, the space game that goes with Dropzone, version one's been around for however long. But version two, they didn't just re-release the rules. They said, okay, we are going to. It'll take some time because it's not going to release it all at the same time. But we are going to do basically everything in plastic because Dropzone currently is mostly a resin game. Like the starter boxes will have a plastic sprue that does your basic dropship, your basic tank, your basic infantry, but the rest of the game is all resin, and that is it's a barrier to new players because it's harder to work with. Plastic glue doesn't work. It's less forgiving. You got to wash it and so on. But Dropfleet 2, when they launched this new edition, they re-released the core ships for UCM, the normal human faction. They and since then they have redone all of the battleships. They've redone all of the light ships. They are redoing all of the battle cruisers, doing all of that in modern hard plastic that is every bit as good
Mhm.
as like industry leaders like Games Workshop. And when this is all done, which will be probably within the year, literally everything for Dropfleet you'll be able to get in plastic, other than like the dreadnoughts, which are basically they're the ships that are, I'm not sure there's going to be video, about half a foot long, the
Yes.
massive, great big models. They're staying resin. And the plan, speaking to Dave Lewis and seeing this revealed at Gen Con as well, is to give Dropzone that same
Oh
treatment.
wow, that's amazing.
So, right, so then, yeah, everything will be in plastic. That barrier of having to work with resin will go away. It'll be much easier for stores to stock because you'll be able to get lots of models on the same sprue rather than needing to stock a million different blister packs.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's not just like in maintenance mode. They want to push it to be a really modern game.
And it, I mean, I've played one game of Drop Fleet as and the game feels super tight. I
Yep.
love it's actually got some pretty interesting, unique mechanics about similar to Drop Zone, where it's very focused on getting to the planets and securing them, and those planets providing you not just some of the I haven't I just breezed through some of the scenarios, but from what I've seen, some of the planets also give you bonuses in the battle or something that are pretty significant. So
Yeah.
there is that multi-layered approach. It's not a space. It's not like a BFG. It's more of a space game that feels more realistic, where you're not fighting in space. You're actually fighting over planets,
Yeah. Yeah.
over something realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Dave referred to it. And I think a few other people have as well. It's not a space game. It's an orbital game.
Mhm.
If you're fighting a game of Drop Fleet, you're not going to do it on, say, like a Starfield battle mat, because why would your fleets meet in the middle of nowhere to shoot each other?
Mhm.
That's not how war works. Instead, you play it on like an orbital map, or a mat of like the planet's surface, and you're fighting over drop sites. You're fighting over the cities and over the space stations, because they're the focal points of the actual war, and you're trying to land your troops down there on that battlefield,
Mhm.
who will then fight each other, secure positions, and that's how you win the game. If you just turn up and shoot each other, or let's say you and I are having a game. I've brought a fleet that's got lots of drop. I've got my bulk landers and my drop ships and so on, and you just bought guns. You'll shoot me off the board, but I'll win the game because I'm going to take the drop sites.
Yeah.
And that is, again, that's so much more evocative, so much more interesting than just, I don't know, murdering each other and the
It's
victory conditions being an afterthought.
it's a realistic battle in the sense that
Yeah,
battles
yeah,
are fought over positions, and in a orbital sort of game, like you said, ships can't destroy a planet. We can go on. It's like
yeah.
the scale, and some science fiction gets. Actually, I mean, I'll go back to this because I've talked to Dave in the past. He's a really sharp mind when it comes to
Mhm.
mechanics of what a realistic science fiction technology would be. And
Yeah,
that is something that you kind of realize the scale of a ship to a planet, it's not even close. Right?
yeah,
It's like so like you really have to secure a planet or secure strategic rotations on a planet, because the ships, even if they could destroy certain locations, a lot of times those planets would just be worth something, right? You don't want to go
yeah.
wipe stuff off the planet.
Yeah,
Um
I think in the setting, all of the factions have been made deliberately to want to fight to take a planet, not to nuke it.
yeah.
I think I think in version one of Drop Fleet you could actually fire nukes, but it was a bad idea. In version two, they just didn't bother adding that mechanic because it was never worth doing.
Mhm.
You can still bombard, you can still level a city block if it's not worth trying to take it, but you're not going to just bombard the entire planet and turn it into glass for no reason, because again, it's a strategic game. And as you said, Dave's got that kind of grounded military sci-fi feel. It's one of the main things that drew me to this game, to Drop Zone as well. It's more it's more the Expanse, it's more Halo,
Yeah.
That kind
The
of feel of
Expanses, I think,
sci-fi or
is a
Mass Effect.
yeah. The Expanse, I
Yeah,
think, is a great analog to what I imagine a drop. That's actually a really good comparison.
yeah.
Maybe collaboration in the future. Maybe the Expanse will hire
It'd
us. Just,
be if there was an Expanse war game, that'd be interesting.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we're going to talk about both drop zones, but I want to kind of pick your brain about drop zone because I finished my drop fleet and I'm actually going to be starting to paint my drop zone commander stuff.
Okay.
What? So I know
What faction? Out of
I'm doing
curiosity.
Shaltari, but I actually have UCM, so I'm really I got into Shaltari because I just love the models, but I also really love UCM, so I may and I got the starter set, so I may be
Yeah.
expanding on my UCM as well. Um,
Cool.
you talked about 3.0. So you've played 2.0 a while. What are some things that maybe you're looking forward to with 3.0 that Dave hinted at, or maybe there's just a little bit of a wish list? So is there anything in the game that you'd love to see tweaked or tightened? I remember when I played, I always felt Scourge was a little too powerful. I don't know how it is now, but what sort of a wish list
Sure.
for you of 3.0?
So wish list. Obviously, UCM should be the best, and the other faction should be worse. That goes without saying. Um, no, no. What's Dave's been not cagey about mechanical changes, but he's been quite broad strokes. That makes sense. So he's not really in the interview we had with him. He was actually at the tournament yesterday, so catched up with him yesterday
Oh,
too. But
that's
he's
great.
still being quite big picture about the mechanical changes for Dropzone 3.0. So I haven't got into the nitty gritty with him yet. I would like to, obviously. Um, Mechanical changes I'm excited about. I know that close quarters, which is your infantry fighting each other in a building, is going to be changed to be simultaneous combat. So the way it currently works in Drop Zone 2 is that if I've got my infantry in the garrison with you, with your infantry, I activate my infantry and they shoot your guys. It's like Warhammer, it's like a lot of other war games where basically it's entirely me doing the shooting and you taking the damage.
Mhm.
Which is mechanically simple because I just activate my guys and they make a shooting attack. But again, it's not realistic because your guys wouldn't just sit there taking fire and dying, waiting for their turn to shoot back. That's not how it works, obviously. I know that in version 2, version 3, close quarters combat will be simultaneous. So if I attack your guys are all going to automatically return fire. So it's going to be a lot bloodier. You're going to almost certainly have casualties on both sides.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to feel more realistic. You, as the player who's defending, you're not going to be sat there twiddling your thumbs going, well, I guess I'll just take my models off the board. If I've sent in, I don't know, my UCM Legionnaires, who are my basic troops with basic rifles and basic training, and your defenders are Shaltari Braves, or Shaltari Firstborn Duelists, who are your master swordsmen, they've lived for hundreds and hundreds of years fighting throughout. Your guys aren't just going to let you shoot them. They are going to shoot back and stab back, and you're going to win that fight on my activation.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's now much more interesting for me, deciding if I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It means you get mileage out of your models, even though it's not your turn. So yeah, mechanically, that's one of the biggest changes I'm really excited to see, because it's going to shake up a lot of how the game works.
Hmm.
Um, Biggest thing in general, obviously, as I said, plastic kits.
Yeah.
Plastic kits, and in general, I think a new edition is going to bring a lot more attention to the game. Because, as you said, it's an indie game. You find out people play it via word of mouth, and yeah, you maybe find a gaming group of probably under 10 people,
Mhm.
maybe up to 10 to 20 if you're really lucky.
Mhm.
New editions obviously bring in more attention. If there's a good starter box that's again all plastic, that's then easy to get people into. So almost regardless of the mechanics, just there being a new edition is exciting for me because it'll mean there's lots of new people to play with.
Mhm. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought that that was how combat worked in 1.0. I remember I would need to dig into it because I'm you don't quote me on this, but I do remember I remember in 1.0 fighting in Bibbles was really brutal. Like it was just
Yeah.
You both rolled attacks on both sides, and you lost a lot of men. But I could be wrong on that because
No,
maybe I'm wrong on that.
you're right, actually. No, you're right.
Am I right?
This is
Okay.
the interesting thing because again, you've looked at version one, and I've only played version two. There's a few things that I think I know Dave wants to, in some ways, take version two back to how version one worked,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's one of them because I think version two, from what I gather, this is kind of things I've heard from other veteran players. It streamlined the game a lot, and it's a lot more accessible. A lot more accessible. Again, things like close quarters combat is simpler in version two,
Mm-hmm.
but version one was arguably better, or had more granularity, or was more interesting.
Hmm.
So I think what Davis said he's trying to do with version three is take
The best of
some of the
both.
best ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Take some of the best ideas of version one, but use some of the things he's learned from version two. Look at how he can streamline it. So he said, for example, CQB is going to feel like version one, but version one, the rules on how CQB worked are on 2 pages.
Hmm.
In version three, they're 2 paragraphs.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not the most. It's interesting because it's not necessarily like a headline feature if you're trying to tell people about how great version three is. But that kind of approach for it, of again taking the best ideas and looking at ways to simplify them without making them overly simple. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm looking forward to seeing.
Like I said, I spoke with Dave. We met at like a little convention or something years ago, and he's really, I think in development terms we call them unicorns, which is people who were good at multi different. Basically, they are excellent at sort of multi different paths. He's a
Yeah.
great game designer, which is hard into itself to do. Like
Hmm.
even when you pick his brain, I loved like his conversation about countermeasures. It makes sense how he explained how the reason that ranges work on a certain range is because basically everything has countermeasures. So you have
Yeah.
effective ranges. I love, and actually I use that description. He's got such a sharp head, but then a great model. Did he? Am I wrong on that? I know
Yeah.
he
No, no.
designs the
He also
models, correct?
sculpts.
Okay, yeah,
He sculpts everything
he
basically.
sculpts, which is, and his stuff is, I mean, it's extremely good. I think
Yeah.
some of the quality is right up there with GW.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
and then he also, now I haven't read the lore, but I know he's wrote and he puts together. I remember for the 1.0, he put together his own rule book, like the shots and the
Mhm.
pictures and everything. And he was saying he had to learn all this stuff. So he's a really, I would think, a pretty rare human being who can just do that. So
Yeah.
I think that it seems like to be in good hands. Um,
Yeah, from what I gather, the only challenge from speaking to some TT combat staff is just keeping him on target, because occasionally he'll be, yes, he is sculpting all the models, but we also need him to write all the rules,
mhm.
or at least do the top-down approach for the rules, because and also the lore as well, which he's doing, of course, too. Um, he's even involved in, to an extent, things like balance. Like again, at this Dropfleet tournament, he was there to basically be a celebrity in effect
Mhm.
and say hello to, at least in the UK, some of his biggest fans. Um, but he was there to also show off some of the upcoming models for Dropfleet that had never been seen before, which was very cool. But he was also there to talk to players and actually
Mhm.
have a look at some games of his game being played, and then make some notes. Is this thing overperforming? Is this mechanic working as intended?
Mhm.
Because obviously, if you write rules, um, there can be a level of kind of assuming people are going to interpret it the same way you do. And then when people actually get their hands on the rules, they won't necessarily do that.
Mhm.
I think with, again, Dropfleet's the one that's the most relevant because it's had its new edition in October.
Recent, yeah.
Yeah, quite recent. But say at the last tournament he came along to, there were a couple of things where he said, "Oh, that's not quite working as intended." In this case, I think it was bombers were basically useless. They were essentially just another gun on your ship with a few additional steps for resolving how they work. But if you had a choice between having a ship that launched bombers to go and attack a ship next to it, or a ship that just shot the ship next to it, you may as well do the latter because it's more straightforward and often more effective.
Mm.
So people were just kind of going, I'm not going to bother playing with carriers. They're too slow, they're not effective. So Dave looked at that and went, oh, okay, that's not working as intended. And then I think 2 weeks later, we had a balance pass where all carriers got much, much more effective. Bombers were much faster. So the game, it's almost in sort of constant live development
Okay.
as Dave takes on board feedback, and not just Dave, but TT Combat in general, but Dave in particular going to these events, speaks to people, sees how the game's going, and then takes that and goes, right, okay, cool, I'll go home and work on that. And then incredibly quickly, you see that translated to changes to how the game works.
Can we just make a quick segue about how every time I interview you English guys, I always want to move to England. Like England, if you're, it's the mecca of wargaming. And just the fact that you, because I went to England once, I went to an OPR tournament once, and
Okay.
I met some of my YouTube friends over there, and it is so cool how everything is close. You know, I live in America, so you know
Yeah.
to even go anywhere. I'm going to a tournament in North Carolina. I have to get a plane. You know, so yeah, it's really cool that like
Yeah.
you just apparently you can basically drive 3 or 4 hours and get pretty much where you need to be in
Yeah.
England. That's
There are
just so cool.
downsides.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are you do have to drive because public transport's awful. It's cheaper to drive than it is to fly. No, yeah, cheaper. No, other way around. It's cheaper to drive than it is to take the train,
Yeah. At
and
least
it's
you
probably
have
cheaper to.
trains. We live in America.
Well,
Yeah.
uh, we we kind of have trains.
Yeah.
There are definitely trains. They occasionally work. But yes, yeah. TT Combat are based in Cornwall. If I wanted to go to Cornwall for something, yeah, it'd be a few hours drive.
That's cool.
Nottingham, Games Workshop's birthplace and where Warhammer World is, that's maybe about 3 hours drive from where I am.
Mm.
This venue that I mentioned, Firestorm, where I run all of my Dropzone tournaments, it's where the Dropfleet tournaments run as well. That's half an hour from where I
Oh,
am.
that's not
So
bad.
yeah, there are definitely benefits to it.
Now, 24 people, is this sort of, would you consider this to be more like a GT grand tournament, or is this more of a local tournament when you say 24 people?
So yeah, 24, to my knowledge, 24 makes it the largest Dropfleet event of the year
Okay.
worldwide.
Yeah.
Um, I know there have been a couple else. I've run a few others that have been around 15 people. I know there have been a couple of events stateside. I think there was one at Nova, and I
Okay.
think there's one at Adepticon. But I think the turnout is quite light. I think Nova was only about. I think it's under 10 people, unfortunately.
Mm.
Whereas, yeah, 24 people. Yeah, I would say it's a GT because nothing else is bigger.
Yeah.
So, by definition, it ends up being one. I'm running next month a Drop Zone tournament that's a 2-day event that's aiming to have 24 people, and I know at least one. I know exactly one person is coming from the States for it, which I'm therefore using to say it's now an international tournament. But again, it's I've not seen any get larger than that. Oh, no, that's not true actually. We had last year we ran a tournament of Dropfleet, and it was the de facto launch event for Dropfleet 2 because the event was only like a few weeks after it came out. Again, Dave Lewis came along to show a bunch of things, sign autographs, hang out, etc. And I think we had 40 people for that.
Yeah.
That was incredible. That was amazing seeing that many people turn up for what is quite a niche game. But yeah, I think 20-ish players is probably achievable for most events.
Hmm. That's pretty good. I mean, that's still, like I said, Drop Zone. It it does feel that it is getting bigger because there is now effectively an established war game channel. I know I'm going to start doing some Drop Zone and Drop Fleet Commander bat reps.
Okay.
So, but Do you feel that it seems like the game is steadily growing? It seems at the very least it's been holding its own.
Yeah,
The work still seems to be there. I like that TT Combat sort of picked, because I know they picked it up from Dave. It used to be Hot Core Games, I think his own company, and then
yeah.
I never fought it, and I just when I came back to it, I found out it was under TT Combat. What do you see about the future of Drop Zone and Dropfleet? How do you kind of see it in this new paradigm where what Dave did 12 years ago is a little more common now? So how do you kind of see Dropfleet and Drop Zone fitting into this ecosphere where we are having more indie games come out, but
Mhm.
40K, I think 40K really is, it'll never go away, but it is losing
Yeah.
steam. And 10th edition, I think, has been a disappointment for a lot of people. We blink and we're already hearing talks about 11th edition.
Oh God, are we?
I mean, well, because it's 3 year cycle. I mean,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
it's already, and like it's, but 10th I know was a big letdown for a lot of people who were expecting something more than
Mhm.
ninth, and they really didn't get it. So it's, in other words, I think the like 10th edition 40K, I think the reason that a lot of people are leaving is not because it was something crazy. It was because it was more of the same. And it's
Yeah.
the community in 40K is just, I mean, I play OPR and we've seen a lot of growth in
Yeah.
OPR who are just like saying we're just tired of it. So
Yeah.
with that being the case, so where do you kind of see Dropzone fitting into this new ecosystem of wargaming?
Yeah. It's an interesting question because yeah, I agree with what you said. Like 40K, it's never going to go anywhere. I think it's going to always be the biggest game unless something absolutely catastrophic happens. It's going to remain. It's your World of Warcraft, right? It's your. If
Mhm.
someone starts playing war games, they almost certainly start with Warhammer. Maybe AOS these days as well as 40K, but probably 40K. And then a lot of people are going to stay in that Games Workshop ecosystem where they never look beyond it. You know, at my local club, when I go and play games, it's always going to be over half of them are going to be 40K, and it's going to remain the case. And it's not necessarily a problem. People have fun playing it. I'm not going to yuck their yum, is the phrase I think. But yeah, I think it's there are now definitely a lot more indie games or other games. There are some that probably don't even qualify as indie anymore. Like games like Infinity are, they're not Games Workshop, but the company that make them are huge.
Mhm.
They've invested loads of money into it. They're going from strength to strength. They're still growing. Parabellum make Conquest, I think. Conquest is doing well. And
Mhm.
that's again a big game with a lot of money, a lot of effort behind it. Um, so yeah, there's two ways of looking at it, I guess. On the one hand, it's becoming an increasingly crowded space.
Mhm.
If you are you're a Warhammer survivor, let's go with that, and you're looking for a new game to get into, you're spoilt for choice, but you also therefore might find that what you get into is going to be difficult to decide because there's no big alternative to go for. Instead, you've got in your local club, these four people play OPR, these three guys play Drop Zone, these six only play Infinity, etc.
Yeah,
So there's no
yeah.
big group for you to join. So there is that, but I guess yeah, the more optimistic way of looking at it is that rising tide lifts all ships. As more people start playing other games, you don't tend to have the same level of, I don't know, brand loyalty you do with Warhammer. You'll have people who will go, okay, I will play Infinity, but I'll also play a bit of Drop Zone on the side. This week I fancy playing OPR. I'll get out my old Warhammer models, or I'll use the actual OPR models. When you got system agnostic systems, especially again like OPR, that means you can use your model. Oh, sorry, model agnostic systems.
Mhm.
That means you can use your models for whatever you want to play. And yeah, it's a as you said, it's I think games like Dropzone and Dropfleet are growing. It's a slow and kind of quiet growth because it still spreads via word of mouth. But yeah, it's both of them are on the rise, as to my knowledge are all other indie games. I don't know of many that have sort of started and then just kind of stopped or died off.
Yeah,
So
and I guess we're, this is a bit tangential, but it's a great time to discuss just wargaming. I always like to talk about wargaming in general. I know but
Yeah.
I know you play other games, and like I said, you're a veteran of the game. Because the way I see it is, more people are playing 40K, but also more people are leaving. I'm in the OPR scene, and I know
Mhm.
I follow our C numbers, and it's just growing. I mean, people are, and a lot of our growth, I follow like the surveys over there. A lot of it is just one, it is new players, who are able to come in. Printing now is super easy, so you're getting those
Yeah.
brand who I know so many people who are coming to play games who've never played any war game. They're just like, oh wait, I can get my friend has a resin printer. He printed some armies. Thanks. And then you have the 40K side of things. So there's
Yeah.
that side of it. And those people I've found just get introduced to other games. But then there is that other side of it where, and I've mentioned it, I want to get your thought of it because Amazon, everyone knows about this. Amazon, the Henry Cavill series, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazon,
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. It's probably the biggest news in wargaming history, if we really think about it. That
Yeah. I
Amazon,
can see that.
with someone like Henry Cavill, who is known outside of, I mean, he's known to the general public, right?
Yeah.
And this is going to impact, this is going to get people into wargaming who've never even heard of this game. They're like, wait, there is this show. And like, to me, the 40K show, all it has to be is just decent.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I mean,
even have to even be good. It doesn't have to be, if they just get some of the basics right,
yeah.
it's gonna be good enough for them. So I want to kind of get
I
your,
mean,
I know I've said a lot, but I'd love to kind of just have you kind of just tell what you kind of think about what's going on in wargaming in general.
yeah. I mean, I think we kind of saw a yeah, I don't know, a kind of a sign of what it'll be like when the Amazon show eventually comes out. Unless it is absolutely garbage. Again, as you said, if it's okay, if it clears that bar, we kind of saw this with Space Marine 2
Mm-hmm.
because that came out and obviously Warhammer fans were they were already going to get it. They were going to get it either way because it's got Space Marines in it. So that's a done deal. That's guaranteed. But what apparently happened is because it's a good game in its own right. It's actually just generally a really good action game with a cool aesthetic and so on. Lots of people who've never touched Warhammer but play video games picked it up and went, "This is actually really cool. What do you mean? There's a board game, I guess, I can play of it." And then they go curious into their local store, or they go on the Warhammer Reddit and say, "I just played Space Marine. Tell me more." And then that's led to apparently a noticeable amount of new blood coming into war games from outside of it, from a different path to the one people usually go on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, things like the Amazon deal, when that, if or when, any day now, I'm told, when that happens, as long as it isn't absolutely awful, it'll almost certainly do the same thing. You'll have people who, even outside gaming in general, who don't even play video games, will give it a go. Or they'll be curious to give it a go. Now, I do think the obvious path for them is they're going to go into Warhammer specifically, rather than other war games. So they're going to be more people. There'll be more growth specifically for 40K initially. But as you said, a lot of people will play 40K and then they will move on to other things. It's now, I think, awareness is now far more common of there being other games beyond Warhammer. Again, like taking my local club I play at, yes, okay, half the game's Warhammer, but the other half is something else.
Mm-hmm.
And all these people are in the same room, all talking, and people walk past the table and go, "What's that?" Like my current, besides Dropzone and Dropfleet, my current darling game, my favorite one is Carnivale. Are you familiar with it?
I was gonna. So what was it? I'm sorry.
Carnivale. So it's
Carnival. Yeah. Okay. Carnival. I guess
yeah,
we pronounce it carnival. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
go ahead.
I used to call it Carnival, and then an Italian friend said, "Stop doing that." So I now try to make myself say Carnivale. But yeah, if anyone watching who hasn't heard of it, it's for legal reasons, it's not Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
but it's basically Assassin's Creed 2. It is set in 1800s Venice. It's a skirmish game um, where, yeah, it's set on the rooftops and the canals of Venice, but there's magic. There's some Lovecraftian stuff going on. There are eldritch beasts coming out of the water. There are vampires and so on. And that's currently my favorite game. But, well, yeah, the tangents on tangents. When I'm playing it at the club, its scenery is fantastic and evocative. Give me a sec. I know that. Do you say there will be video or not for this?
No, I'm not gonna do videos, but yeah, I will see it and I'll describe it. How about that,
For your benefit, then.
Oh, he's put it a boat. It's a boat, guys. Oh, that boat
Uh,
looks great. That boat. Can you send me an image of it and I'll just place the image
yeah,
because that looks great. And I've seen other
absolutely.
games like Blood and Plunder. I think like in my local gaming group,
Yeah, yeah,
they play with boats and it's so freaking cool. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, so I've got two of these, and I've got a whole bunch of terrain to go around it, and it turns heads. People walk past on their way to their 40k game with its L-shaped ruins for the same game they have every week, and they see
The
this and they go,
L-shaped
"What the
ruins
hell is
again.
that?" Sorry. Positivity, I'll behave.
Oh
Don't
my
get me
goodness,
started on
it's
L-shaped
hilarious.
ruins.
That's great.
um, but yeah, people are curious about other games.
Mhm.
I think there is definitely a level of Warhammer fatigue. Of, as you said, 10th edition. It's not bad, but there's nothing about it that makes you go, oh, I really want to play that game.
Mhm.
Tell me more about that game. Like I joke about the L-shaped ruins, but you walk past a 40k table and you don't go, what is that? Tell me about that. What's going on here? Whereas you walk past again a table with one of these in it, and you go, I can play on that. What do you mean I can play on that?
Yeah,
Tell how? Or you walk past a Dropzone table. Dropzone looks incredible
it does.
because you're not you're not fighting over a single street. You're fighting over an entire city with streets and avenues and 8-inch tall buildings. You've got aircraft zooming past and tanks warring in the streets. You look at it and it tells a story straight away. And I think in the indie game scene, you're seeing much more interesting things being done as people iterate on other indie games, as they iterate on what Warhammer does. I've only briefly looked at OPR myself, but OPR, from what I can tell, because it's in some ways a more relaxed game, you don't have to have your L-shaped ruins in an exact position as
Mhm.
dictated by the tournament scene. You can do a really cool board. You can do a asymmetrical mission. Nobody cares. Do what you want with it. And I think, yeah, it's kind of it's a quiet renaissance. Is probably the best way of putting it. Is you're not having a huge tide of Warhammer survivors going, I'm done, give me something else. But you're seeing other people kind of going quietly, oh, I want to do something a bit different. And that looks interesting.
I mean, there's so many. I mean, one of the big things that Dropzone has is two things it has going for it. So, for one, it's supported. And let's be honest, some of the best games I've played aren't supported anymore. They're basically community run. So, I play like Epic
Yeah.
Armageddon, which is community run. Incredibly good game. But it's no
Yeah.
official support, there's no company behind it. But it's still a really good game.
Yeah, I
Oh,
played Gothic.
yeah,
Same sort of thing,
BFG.
where it's been
It's
dead for decades.
BFG's the same way. I'm getting into War Master, same thing. So, but what Drop Zone has, the best of both worlds. It's a super
Yeah.
good game. But the other side
Hmm.
of it, it's officially supported. That's its
Yeah.
big advantage over Epic Armageddon. I mean, you have got a company and a effectively a Michelangelo of our age, Dave Lewis, working on this thing. So
Yeah.
I do see that it's definitely got its advantage on that day. And I think that's great. That's great. Um,
Yeah.
I would so okay. I've got like 50 million more questions love to ask you, but I know we got to be respectful of your time. So I will sort of kind of
Right.
begin to close this out, but I'd love to have you back on because I'd love to just sort of pick your brain further. But I always like to ask a few questions before we go. So one,
Sure.
um, I always like to ask. Okay, so now I have to. So I always love. What is your favorite faction for sci-fi and fantasy? But it has to be a war game. So we're talking about lore here. So if you have to pick a
Oh,
sci-fi and fantasy lore, but it has to be on a tabletop war game.
Okay.
What's your favorite lore for fantasy and sci-fi? You can pick one of both.
So you sent me these questions earlier, and I spent like half an hour trying to think of a good answer. um, so sci-fi. Okay, while I am done with 40k. I've done my time. I can't see myself going back to it. I've sold my 40k army. We're over. I've moved on from my ex. I'm fine. With that said,
Yeah.
uh, favorite sci-fi faction would probably be the Lamenters from 40k.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
You familiar with them?
Yeah. The like
Yeah.
the cursed Space Marine chapter, right? Is that what it is?
They, yeah, they are the because there's a couple of things that they are noteworthy about, and they are probably the only actual good guys in 40k.
Mhm.
Salamanders, people will say, these guys, as far as Space Marines go, they're not that bad. But Lamenters, I think, are the one of the only chapters who are legitimately actually good guys. Yeah, they will quite happily sacrifice a whole squad of troops to save a civilian, not even an important civilian, some normal bloke on a normal planet who doesn't even have a name. No, these heroes of the Imperium will lay down their lives to save him. It's all very hero fantasy,
Mhm.
and it's very tragic because they'll always die if they try and do this. But I'm a sucker for that kind of hero fantasy, especially in a grim, dark, horrible world, which obviously Warhammer 40k is.
Mhm.
And I think because they are the only good people in the setting, they are, as you said, they are cursed.
Yes.
I think in terms of their actual background, it's never been confirmed whether they are literally cursed by chaos or something, but they are the most profoundly unlucky, unfortunate chapter in
Yes.
existence, where they've been hunted by the Inquisition, they have been all but wiped out multiple times, they suffer catastrophic losses in basically every battle they fight in, and they keep going. They pick themselves up,
Yeah.
they spit out the tooth that they had knocked out, they go and make some more Space Marines, they get back in the fight, and it happens again,
Yeah.
over and over and over, and they keep going. And that's genuinely a little bit inspiring. Plus, it's a really good excuse for terrible dice luck.
I love that.
Because
That's great.
if I'm playing my Shaltari, and my Shaltari are masters of 1,000 wars. Every single Shaltari warrior is a
Yeah.
1,000 lifetimes old. They've been fighting for longer than your species has been using solid tools, and then I lose a gunfight to Jim with his assault rifle. That's kind of, I think the phrase is narratively dissonant. It's funny and
Mhm.
it's fun, but it doesn't match the lore of what should be happening. My Shaltari Swordmaster should win this fight every single time easily. Whereas when my Lamenters get wiped out to a man again, I can go, "Yep, that fits.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fair enough." Um, so yeah, sci-fi it would be Lamenters definitely.
Okay.
Uh, Fantasy is you're gonna there's kind of a theme here. For you said war game, and I'm gonna say this stretches to skirmish game
Yeah.
because it's
Any
not
war,
really a
any get. Yeah.
war. Okay, so for Carnivale, I've got two factions. I've got my Strigoi, who are my vampires. They are the scions of Vlad Dracula himself, who's basically looked at what's going on in Venice and gone, "That looks great. I'm going to turn up and join in." But not them. My other faction are the Guild, and the Guild are a combination of the Thieves Guild, the Courtesans Guild, the dock workers, the ship hands, the normal blokes,
Yeah.
the normal people in Venice who in Carnivale, most of the world's been wiped out. It's been flooded by basically a second biblical flood.
Huh.
And Venice is pretty much all that's left because it's on a lagoon and it kind of essentially floats. So it's one of the few cities that's actually intact. But that means all of these horrible eldritch powers have turned up. The Vatican has moved in and said, well, Rome is gone, so we live here now, deal with it. The Strigoi have turned up as well to have a piece of the pie. The Patricians, who are the human nobility,
So
are basically having one unending party.
the Strigoi, is that like the Slavic sort of things? The Striga sort of thing?
Yeah,
Okay, cool,
exactly,
cool.
yeah. And then the whole naming convention is that. So
Okay.
all of the vampires are following that kind of theme.
Oh, that makes sense.
Um,
Okay, cool, cool.
yeah, but yeah, the guilds are the normal people living in Venice who've basically they're now trying to defend their home. Now they're not necessarily nice people. The thieves guild are not exactly decent people. They're a bunch of thugs. They will press gang civilians into fighting for them. But again, you've kind of got that ordinary humans in a world of the extraordinary, which is just a vibe I really enjoy. And particularly with how games work, in a game of Carnivale, if my opponent's playing Strigoi and they have Vlad Dracula himself leading the gang, they have a great big winged vampire who's going to jump from buildings and tear my guys apart. They've got teleporting Nosferatu. My gang could consist of a gondolier, who's basically a taxi driver, a fisherman, a shipwright, and a child pickpocket.
Oh, that's
And that's
awesome.
it. That's what I'm fighting with, which means every battle feels like I'm the underdog, and anything that works feels incredible.
That's awesome. That's cool. I have to check out Carnival or Volley. Okay. I mean, it's one
You
of those
should.
games that it's always I've heard about it, but I've never. We there's like I said, we are so many great games out there.
Yeah. I mean, if
Well,
you don't mind me
oh yeah, go
plugging
ahead.
the channel, we did recently film a Carnival campaign. So my friend and I, Dan, played a Carnival campaign between Maestro and his patricians, and that's a five game series of battle reports that's on our channel now. So if you want to have a look at it, or if your audience want to,
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be a good place to start.
that's absolutely. And you're like I said, you do Drop Zone. I know you've got some Horus Heresy on there. You've got Carnival. Do you also have some Adeptus Titanicus, right? I know you have that on the channel, right? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember seeing a channel. It's like, okay, some other cool stuff. So one of the other questions I love asking is, we're wargamers, of course. This is our hobby. We can't do this full time. But suppose you were a billionaire. Suppose you had all the money and all the
Hmm.
time in the world,
Hmm.
and you want to do your dream wargaming experience, where money and time are just not even in question. What is your dream wargaming experience, Mister Alex Bezos?
Okay. So with this infinite funds, I can basically pay my friends to play this game with me, I think, and I can pay them whatever their price is. I can lock them in this room with me until we are done. So I've got two answers actually,
Mhm.
two different ones I want to do. One of them is something I see people say. They ask this pretty much every time someone gets into both Dropfleet and Dropzone. The question always comes up of, can I link the two games together? Because a
Mm.
game of Dropfleet starts with our fleets in orbit battling for supremacy and then landing troops on the ground on these drop sites. And then a game of Drop Zone is a war in the streets of that city
Mhm.
where our tanks battle it out. And then there is coming out next year, part three, if you like, Strike Team Commander, which is room to room CQB clearance of your infantry squads fighting each other in the same setting
Oh, it's
and
cool.
fighting inside a building. So you can see where I'm going with this. Every single time, you see this question asked on all the Discord servers. People saying, "Can you link it all together? Could I play a game where I play Fleet and then play Zone and then play Strike Team?" The answer is yes. It would just take all week to play. So that's what I'd like to do. Play that Drop Fleet game, and then we see basically you deploy your troops and I deploy my troops on this drop site. Okay, pause the Drop Fleet game. Go over to
Yeah,
this
that'd be
table over
cool.
here.
That's cool.
Now we're going to play Drop Zone. We're going to battle it out. Okay, we've now got your infantry in the building and my infantry in the building. Okay, pause. Third
Oh,
table.
that's
We now play
cool.
Strike Team
Very
to
cool.
resolve that CQB
Yeah.
battle. Cool, we're done. Zoom back out to Drop Zone. We're done. Zoom back out to Drop Fleet.
That's nice.
Not playable. Not even remotely playable. It would take weeks to play, and we'd be sick of each other by the end, but it would be fun, I think.
That's awesome. I love it.
So that's
Well,
one option.
yeah. Okay.
Am I allowed to?
Oh
I can
yeah. Go
stop
ahead.
you
Go
on.
ahead. This is your dream. It's your dream.
All right. The other one, did you ever play Inquisitor? Or do you know much about Inquisitor?
The video game or which one?
The tabletop game.
I never played Inquisitor, a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So this was an absolutely ancient GW game. It was 54 millimeter, so it
Wow.
was its own range of models. But it was Warhammer. It's Warhammer 40k, and it wasn't even really a war game or a skirmish game. It's probably closer to a role playing game.
Yeah.
Like you needed a GM to play this game because the rules were such a mess. But the idea was you wouldn't be playing a normal fight or even a scenario. You'd be playing a story of some description. So you'd be playing your Inquisitor and his or her retinue. I might be playing mine, and then there'll be NPCs for us to fight our way through. There'll be betrayal. There'll be a whole story to go with it, and so on. Anyway, ancient history. Inquisitor is long, long dead. Inquisitor 28 does exist, though, which is the same rules, but 28mm scale.
Hmm.
And it's got a tiny but fanatical community that basically play it, as far as I know, once a year, only once a year, at Warhammer World. John Blanche basically runs the thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh,
Man, you
it
English are so
shows up to be
spoiled. Yeah, you guys.
right. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've never been, but I'm aware this is a thing, and they'll play in a full bespoke board of scenery. There'll be game masters running the whole story. People will have their own individual bands of Inquisitors, and it's not really about a winner at all. It's about, again, this almost pseudo role playing game, skirmish game hybrids.
Hmm.
I would love to do something like that with Carnivale.
Ah.
So get a massive, great big board. Of like a whole district of Venice. Everyone's got their own individual gang. I or someone else who I've paid runs it for me as, again, a storyteller of some description. And yeah, we play through that over however many days it takes to play.
That's awesome. Days, weeks, years. Come on, you've got.
Probably, yeah.
That's awesome.
Infinite fun, so why not keep going? Yeah.
Why not? Why not? I love it. Well, Alex, again, really appreciate you coming on. I have like 50 other questions that I'm not going to throw on you because we'd be here for hours. But um, bottom of the barrel table, the bottom of the barrel YouTube channel. Tell us what you've got planned in the future for bottom of the barrel. Anything that um, whoever the dozen people that watch these would be interested in checking out. Go
Both of them will be happy to know.
ahead. Just us.
No, yeah, yeah. So there are some big changes to the channel coming that I can't actually talk about.
Mm.
They involve TT Combat, but I currently can't say more than that. It will be revealed soon. Is literally all I'm allowed to say.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice.
yeah, I mean,
NDA
I can
territory
say
here. Nice.
pretty much, yeah.
Very
I mean, I
nice.
can say that we do have like a nice arrangement with TT Combat, where because we cover their games and we're one of the only channels that do, we often get stuff early. So, for example, there was just a Dropfleet battleship that came out. We were able to get our hands on it a few weeks early, get
Nice.
it painted, film a battle report for it for release day, and so on. And it's a reciprocal relationship. It benefits them because they get content going up day one, benefits us because we get to make the content and get eyes on it, and we also get stuff early, which is cool.
Very nice.
So yeah, no specifics, but as more stuff comes out for Dropfleet, for Dropzone, for Carnivale, we would hope to basically be the place to see that coming out. Um, Talking to Dave Lewis yesterday, he said he's very keen to come back on the podcast again
Mm.
and maybe answer a few more community questions about version 3. As there's more to reveal, there'll be more he's able to say as we get closer to release. So, if you've got questions for Dave, if you let us know in our comments, we will be able to pass them along. Some of them he will say can't answer that. Some of them, you've spoken to him yourself. You know that he's quite happy to really get into the weeds about lore and mechanics and so on,
Mm.
which is very fun, and it's exciting to basically meet and talk to a celebrity
It
in
is.
our very niche field. The other big thing is that we're recording this on the 7th of September. So, in a little over a month, on the 18th and 19th of October, I'm running Danger Close 5, which is my series of Dropzone Commander tournaments.
Very nice.
It's going to be the first time I'm running a 2-day event, which I've never done before. Um, it should be a really good time. I decided a while back that it was far too easy just to run normal missions out of the rulebook. That was nowhere near enough work. So the way it works is that every single table has its own mission and its own bespoke set of terrain, most of which I've painted myself. And they are deliberately weird missions. Like, I'm going to again show you another thing that I can take a photo of if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the missions is going to have this. It's another boat, but it's a different sort of boat.
Ooh. It's another boat.
Uh,
I love boats. That's
so
nice.
this is a cargo tanker, cargo ship even that I've converted. So it's normally for I think it's for the Batman skirmish game,
Hmm.
but I've basically redone the whole back end of it into basically making it a 10 millimeter scale massive great big cargo ship. And there's going to be a scenario where this starts off the board and sails onto the board, and you need to get on it, get the objectors
Oh,
off it before it crashes into the harbor and explodes.
very cool. I like it.
So, it's not a competitive, sweaty tournament. If people come along expecting it, they're going to have a very strange time because the scenarios are not normal Dropzone scenarios. But yeah, it's my passion project. It's really fun coming out with these and then seeing people play them. So that's the most imminent thing. That's certainly what I'm going to be thinking about and stressing about over the next few weeks as I get the scenarios ready, give them to my group of playtesters who will then say, "That's a cool idea, Alex. It doesn't work." Then I go, "Okay, fine, fine. I'll rewrite it. I'll start again." Yeah, so that's the biggest thing on the horizon as far as I'm concerned. The Danger Close tournament in October.
Very cool. Well, that is a lot of stuff. Well, and I would love to have you come on for 3.0. I'd love to kind of, when it comes on, I know I'm going to be setting up some Dropfleet bat reps in the future, along with
Awesome.
half a dozen other things. Like I said, I don't do this full time, but love your work. Alex, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's always fun to talk about to go on tangents like talking about the general direction of war games are going in and reminisce about how we started and so on. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.